It's a real privilege to chair this meeting, this panel, with His Holiness, distinguished speakers, and your participation. The Templeton Prize is a truly remarkable award. It cuts across boundaries by which we're so often imprisoned. We're going to hear about the award. We'll hear from His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, and this year's 2012 Templeton Laureate, the 40th anniversary of the award. We'll hear from two eminent scientists, professors of psychology, and then you will be participating as well. We have a very tight schedule, so forgive me if I'm pretty tough on that because of further commitments of this award ceremony. So first I'm going to go straight to Dr. John Templeton, who is the president and chairman of the John Templeton Foundation. He's a surgeon by profession, author of, among other works, Thrift and Generosity, The Joy of Giving. Dr. Templeton.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. The only sad part is that my father can't be with us. If he was, and I will be sharing a few remarks as he would share them, he would say, "I love you all." In that context, I'd like to then offer a warm welcome to all of you joining us here at the media panel, and a welcome to all of you online, where later we shall honor online the 2012 Templeton Prize laureate, His Holiness the Dalai Lama. This media panel was assembled so that we all might learn more about his work in the area of spiritual progress. The Templeton Prize and the John Templeton Foundation are grateful to St. Paul for the opportunity to hold both this media panel here this morning and later this afternoon to present the 2012 Templeton Prize to His Holiness in the magnificent cathedral above us. For that privilege, we express our special gratitude to the Right Reverend Michael Colclough, the canon pastor of St. Paul's Cathedral, but more especially to all of the members here at the cathedral who helped to make this day so special and so effective. Really, from our viewpoint, gratitude is the order of the day, and I think that His Holiness and all of us feel gratitude to you and to the cathedral and for those who've made this day possible. Also, our thanks and gratitude go to Daniel Goldman and Richard Davidson, who join us on this panel. For more than 20 years, Dr. Goldman and Davidson have organized numerous public conversations between the Dalai Lama, contemplative practitioners, and scientists. These conferences have led to a promising research on the science of compassion and the effects of contemplative practice on human biology and behavior. We are delighted that they will share their insights with us today. And so today is indeed an appropriate day to share with all of you these reflective words, "How little we know, how eager to learn." These words are the motivating vision of the Templeton Prize, created 40 years ago by Sir John. My father was, for his entire life, a seeker of and an investor in those things of enduring value. Thus, although he passed away in 2008, he has left us with a philanthropic heritage of the pursuit of excellence and value. The words I just shared are from Sir John himself and have long been a part of the vision of the Templeton Prize. This vision fosters an eager pursuit of discovery, especially in the seeking of new insights of the limitless potentialities in the realm of the spiritual. This is what Sir John summarized as spiritual progress. Following Sir John's spiritual and philosophical worldviews, the Templeton Prize affirms that there are indeed spiritual realities. Humans have a fundamental spiritual dimension in addition to their physical and material one. This timeless belief is shared by the overwhelming majority of the people of the world, both past and present. But what exactly do we mean by spiritual realities? What do they encompass? Concepts associated with the timeless and universal evidence and sensibilities of limitless spirit clearly include prayer, altruism, thanksgiving, love, and a pursuit of the divine. But so too are complexity, creativity, cosmic purpose, and infinity. These are also essential spiritual realities. Sir John envisioned that the Templeton Prize would identify entrepreneurs of the spirit, people who devote their talents to expanding our vision of human purpose and also ultimate reality. Thus, in raising the concepts like creativity and purpose in its pursuit of spiritual progress, the prize often honors those who use the tools of science and philosophy to undertake spiritually relevant research. But the optimal context for such a vision is to encourage an open-minded spirit of humility. In all of these approaches, Sir John has stressed that humility causes an open mind, which in turn makes it possible for us to learn from each other. Furthermore, an open mind is a major and perhaps essential contributor to progress. The Templeton Prize seeks to recognize that spirit of humility so that people of all nations can learn about the rich variety of ways that all might love others beyond oneself and understand a supreme spirit. Sir John even foresaw the day when new information on spiritual realities from science research might reduce conflict between religions. He felt that from such research, people will come to acknowledge that spiritual information is a universal available to all. In this way, it is hoped that all religions and all people and in all nations will embrace the vision of how little we know, how eager to learn. And so, in that spirit of spiritual progress each year, the 9 Templeton Prize judges, representing a wide range of disciplines, cultures, and religious traditions, individually and separately of each other, carefully evaluate all of the prize candidates. From this process, the Templeton Prize judges this year chose His Holiness, the 14th Dalai Lama, Tenzin Gyatso, the 2012 Templeton Prize laureate. The blessings that His Holiness has brought forth include his being an incomparable global voice for universal ethics, nonviolence, and harmony among the world religions. But many may not know why the judges have chosen him as the 2012 Templeton laureate. For example, one judge remarked, "Through his spiritual stamina, the Dalai Lama has remained serenely steadfast in his stand for religion in its most positive dimensions." Clearly, then, His Holiness exemplifies Sir John's vision of spiritual progress. For more than 25 years, His Holiness has focused on the connections between the investigative traditions of science and the contemplative traditions of Buddhism. His Holiness has not only encouraged, but indeed has catalyzed serious scientific investigative review, for example, of the power of compassion and kindness and their potential to address fundamental problems of the world. This search is at the core of his teachings. And within that speech, he explores the types of big questions which are at the core of the John Templeton's Foundation mandate for breakthroughs in discovery and outreach that are relevant to spiritual progress. One of the questions His Holiness raises is, can compassion be trained or taught? Another question which is so relevant to the respect for which His Holiness has for every single person might be, what is the significance that each and every human being is unique in all of history? In summary, His Holiness has fostered the inclusion of careful scientific methods to the study of spiritual perspectives, which in turn are expanding the horizons of spiritual progress that the prize has recognized for some 40 years. Therefore, many thanks again to all of you for joining us this morning for this program, and thank you to His Holiness.
Thank you very much, Dr. Templeton. I was going to say an introduction to the Dalai Lama, but from bitter memory, I know what happens when you do that. He responds with self-deprecation and wit, which makes one seem like a pompous ass. So I'm not going to do that. I'm simply going to say, Your Holiness, would you like to address us, please?
Oh. Oh, excuse, how many minutes? 10. Oh, 5.
Correct. No, 10. If you like, I'll remind you.
Yes, good. Brothers and sisters, I really very happy to receive this award. I always see stress. I am nothing special person. Simply one of the 7 billion human beings. Can you make some distinction? My nose, my eye, my mouth, my ear. I think everybody here, same 2 eyes. Unfortunately, no third eye. If I have third eye, then of course something special. No, entire 7 billion human beings from birth. All these positive things there. The potential of good thing already there, as well as potential of bad things already there. Then, because of my training, and particularly, as I mentioned briefly, my mother, very, very kind mother, so I grown up and full sort of affection from my mother. And then eventually I train our mind. And then also as a refugee. So opportunity, meeting with variety of people, and also listen. BBC, I always listen, and then read different sort of magazines or news. It always confirmed me. Ultimate source of calm mind, happiness, joyfulness is within ourselves. Billionaire, very powerful people, that's facing a lot of problems. Why? That clearly shows money, power fail to bring inner peace. On poor person, material field poor, but mental level very, very happy person. We can see that. Now, the scientific research also now shows calm mind, very, very helpful for good health. And then naturally, we see any family where full of affection there, all family member, very happy family member. The family may be very rich, very powerful, but lack of that human sort of affection. Suspect each other, distrust, jealousy. Then, no matter how wealthy family or powerful family will not be happy. So now, I feel, we too much emphasis importance of money, economy. When we read newspaper, always say money, money, money. The government level also always say the development of the money, money, like that. So people, from childhood, eventually, I think I don't want to say whether this is the right word or not. Some way brainwash. We simply show people, oh, money is the ultimate source of happiness. That's, I think, wrong. Now time comes, whether we believe religion or not, that's up to individual business. But we must pay more attention about our inner value in order to lead happier life, healthier body. So that's my number one commitment. Number two commitment, I'm Buddhist. I try to promote religious harmony. So now this sort of award is received in a historical, sort of big cathedral. Very, very happy, great honor. So because of this sort of my sort of commitment, according to my own level, small contribution for betterment of human individual and more close understanding among different traditions. So this sort of award, I consider the recognition of my small contribution. So when I received Nobel Peace Prize, after that, when I reached New Delhi night, some sort of media people came at the airport. The first question, how to use that money? Fortunately,
you may get that question here.
So fortunately, as soon as I heard that announcement, I already thought, I never use this money for my personal. I'm the longest guest of Indian government, so all facilities provided by Indian government. No worry. I have no family, nothing. So just a single stomach here. That's all. So at that time, before I reached India, I already sort of make up in my mind is there some portion to some Indian organization who really devoted helping leprosy. Oh yes, the handicapped sort of people. I visit that sort of camp. So very much impressed in my mind. They not only taking care of their livelihood, but also give them new spirit as a human being. Otherwise, the defect on their body. So sometimes always look very, very sad. So one portion donate that, and then I established one the foundation of universal responsibility like that. So this time also, when I received that information, I think how to utilize the money, how to divide. Then, so like that, so I very much sort of appreciate your sort of Kasota choosing me this year's Kasota award. I clearly sort of feel clear sort of recognition about my activities, and then the amount of that money also I will explain like that. So thank you very much. Thank you. Now less than 10 minutes.
You can carry on.
Now I have a question.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Your Holiness. Daniel Goldman is renowned for his international bestseller Emotional Intelligence and a host of subsequent works exploring the themes that were explored there. And he's going to outline why he sees the Dalai Lama's award as being wholly appropriate to the Templeton Prize. Daniel.
Well, also I'm going to give a quick 3 to 4 minute backgrounder on things you ought to know about His Holiness if you're going to write about him. To begin, I'd like you to remember a day when watches had moving parts. If you lived in Lhasa in the 1950s and your watch broke, there was one person who could fix it, His Holiness. His Holiness has had a lifelong interest in how things work, in science, essentially. In fact, I believe you, as a young man, maybe a teenager in Lhasa, I'm told you took apart 2 cars and put them back together in working order. 1929 Austins.
I think I must add, it's my interest from childhood, science and technology. I think it seems to be a little hindrance about my study.
But it actually has served His Holiness very well once he's come to the West, because from the beginning of the time he came to India and traveled throughout the world, he sought out world-class scientists to learn from them about their expertise, their findings, and their theories. One of his first conversational partners was the British quantum physicist David Bohm, B-O-H-M, who I believe you met with over many, many years discussing quantum theory, and also the philosopher Karl Popper, who was a tutor on scientific method. And then, of course, the biologist Francisco Varela, with whom you and Adam Engel, a businessman who's here, founded the Mind and Life Institute, which we'll hear more about because it's very apropos of why His Holiness is perfect for this prize. And finally, Richard Davidson, from whom we'll hear in a moment. And if you were to do a search of books by His Holiness, you'd find more than 200, but I'm going to save you some time. There's just a handful that summarize his key thinking in this area. One is the book Ethics for a New Millennium, which was around 2000, I believe, in which His Holiness articulates a basis for a universal ethic, one that would apply and appeal both to religious believers and non-believers alike, because it's founded in science. His Holiness has used his scientific findings that he learned about over and over again to support his understanding of how science and religion alike seek to find the truth and to serve humanity, that they have these common goals in mind. The book, A True Kinship of Faith, describes your personal journey in meeting people like Bishop here from many different religions, and understanding that all religions have a commonality in valuing living a good life, an ethical life, and finding the argument for compassion as a foundation for that. And then the most recent book, Beyond Religion, where His Holiness explores an inclusive ethics, one that embraces the shared views of religious and non-believers alike, and finds a biological basis for compassion. And in sum, Your Holiness, you've seen how religion and science both seek to relieve human suffering, to foster human flourishing, and to support the strengthening of compassion. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Richard Davidson, we've just heard, is Professor of Psychology and Psychiatry at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, where you direct, it's a very, very long title, but I'm going to summarize it, to direct the Weizmann Laboratory for Brain Imaging and Behavior. Your most recent book, published this year, is The Emotional Life of Your Brain. Richard.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'd like to especially thank the Templeton Foundation for their insights and wisdom to name His Holiness as this year's recipient, and for your extraordinary dedication to fostering the continual dialogue between spirituality and science, which I think is really the centerpiece of His Holiness's activities that are so centrally related to the mission of the Templeton Foundation. For more than 25 years, His Holiness has participated in a dialogue with scientists largely catalyzed by the Mind and Life Institute, of which His Holiness is a co-founder. And one of the great insights from His Holiness's tradition is that virtuous qualities of character, such as compassion and kindness, are part of our biological repertoires. They're part of every human being. And if we are in situations where those capacities can be nurtured, they can be strengthened and enhanced. And they can be done in a way that is accessible to all people, universally, in a completely secular way. And this vision has been a vision which has had a deep and profound impact on modern science. In the mid-1990s, I think it's fair to say that there was virtually no scientific research on compassion. And because of His Holiness's consistent and indefatigable interest in this area, that research has now been flowering. The research on compassion and neuroscience has become mainstream. The work on neuroplasticity, which is the idea that the brain can change in response to experience and in response to training, is a conceptual framework in which we can now understand for the first time in scientific terms how training in compassion and in kindness and in equanimity can actually change the brain in ways which are helpful for promoting well-being and also helpful for actually changing our bodies in ways that are health promoting more generally. His Holiness has also catalyzed a new generation of scientists who are integrating for the first time first person, that is their own experience that they can derive from their own training of their mind, with third person scientific methodology, which is a strategy that was first talked about by one of the co-founders of the Mind and Life Institute, Francisco Varela. And that strategy has turned out to be enormously impactful and effective. And His Holiness has stimulated this new generation of scientists. Just several weeks ago at a meeting in the United States, His Holiness met with 6 young scientists who have received Varela Awards from the Mind and Life Institute, which are awards partially supported by the Templeton Foundation, which has just sparked this younger generation to investigate these healthy qualities and to determine how they can best be promoted. So it is really a joy to be part of this celebration, and I think that the work that His Holiness has catalyzed will continue to have impact throughout the scientific community.
Richard, thank you. I have just one brief question of my own as on behalf of, as it were, the skeptical community of my trade, which is obviously the research that you are undertaking is extraordinarily fascinating conceptually. It may have profound significance and implications, but you ascribe to His Holiness a really seminal, crucial, catalytic role in making that happen, and that's why you think he should have the award. Is that the case? He does have that position. Well,
for example, His Holiness gave an address in 2005 to the Society for Neuroscience in Washington, D.C. It's the largest and most prestigious organization of neuroscientists in the world. And that address was attended by approximately 7,000 neuroscientists, and it was seen on the web by many, many more. And I think that was a turning point in the acceptance by the mainstream scientific community of the importance of the kind of work that His Holiness was describing. And I think His Holiness has played a key role as a public intellectual in the fostering of that kind of secular approach to the promotion of this integration that we're seeing today.
If I could, I remember a particularly seminal moment. It came in 2000 or 2003 when we had a dialogue with His Holiness, and Richard Davidson was one of the scientists, on destructive emotions. And Your Holiness, you said to Richie, Buddhism and the great religious traditions of the world have many methods that are very effective in countering destructive emotions, for example, fostering compassion. And then you urged him, point blank, you said, take them out of the religious context, study them as rigorously as you can in the lab, and if they are valid, that is, if they do benefit people, share them as widely as you can outside the religious context. I think that was the seed moment for this entire scientific movement.
Thank you. Let me now throw it open to anyone and everyone here. If you give your name, some of your names I know, but to be equal, I'll pretend I know none of them. If you give your name, your organization. Yes, ma'am.
Your Holiness, Dalai Lama. I'm Lindsay Hilson from Channel 4 News. All over Tibetan areas, Tibetans have been setting fire to themselves, self-immolating, in protest against Chinese rule. Can you tell us whether you think that they should stop this now, or should they continue?
I think that is quite a sensitive political issue. I think my answer should be 0. since last year, I retired from political responsibility. Not only myself retired, but also almost 4-century-old tradition, Dalai Lama institution, automatically become head of both temporal and spirituality of Tibet. That now ended. So, in that sense, now I become truly simple Buddhist monk. No answer. It is very controversial, very sensitive. I do not want to use this sort of great sort of the occasion, manipulate, politicize. I don't want.
Many politicians in this country, when you're asked a very direct and important political question, obfuscate. They say, well, and they try to answer a different question. I wish you'd asked me that question. Very rarely do you get a direct no answer. Yes, just here.
Thank you. Adrian Croft from Reuters. Could I ask the Dalai Lama whether you expect to meet the British Prime Minister when you visit the UK in June, please?
Sinijai. Ada love him marwada. Love so chomare. According to some my friend, now you wait till 1 o'clock, then you will know.
From which you might infer the answer may not be negative. Yeah.
So, I mean, firstly, you say, I do not want to announce unless you see the office Prime Minister announce. So, so wait till 1 o'clock, then you will know. Yes.
Ariana Huffington, the Huffington Post. How can you experience so much compassion for people suffering and still maintain your extraordinary capacity for joy?
I think I want to share just one experience yesterday. 9 hours flight from Delhi to London. Among the passengers, one Indian lady, she approached to me and showed me one picture, her son, her daughter. And she asked me blessing. Then she told me one of her children, very unhappy and strong feeling of hopelessness. Then I told her that self-confidence is the key factor. The basis of self-confidence is honest, truthful, warm-heartedness. These things are the basis of self-confidence. These things I myself learned through decades. I remain, as a Buddhist monk, as a Buddhist practitioner, I always remain honest, truthful. I think since these two persons has spent a lot of time with me, so so that little bit exaggerate or not, I always remain honest, truthful, and transparent.
That's right.
So sometimes a little bit blunt. Okay, isn't it?
Yes.
Even if you do Tibetan, even to Buddhist, Thai Buddhist, or Burmese Buddhist, or Chinese Buddhist, Japanese Buddhist, or Korean Buddhist, Vietnamese Buddhist, and Tibetan Buddhist also, are quite blunt. Sometimes I criticize some of our sort of past practice, quite blunt. And then also, some of our scripture mentioned the geography of the world, flat world, and Mount Meru in the center. I already rejected. I'm Buddhist. Still, hopefully, I'm still Buddhist, But some of the Buddhist sort of description, I already rejected. I believe more on scientific sort of finding. But those things scientifically not yet proved, that does not mean does not exist. But those things which prove by scientifically, that's true, that's a fact. So if that goes against some of the sort of Buddhist sort of belief, then we must change that. I think here so therefore, through my own experience, no matter what sort of environment, even hostile environment, there is method. You can keep your peace of mind. If your mind, way of thinking, totally relying on external environment, then you really become helpless. But we human beings, we are not element. We have this marvelous intelligence. So use human intelligence properly and look holistic way about our life, about the environment, including your enemy. Through that way, you can see enemy very helpful to bring inner strength. So therefore, I told her, yes, practice more honest, more truthful, sincerity, then you get eventually self-confidence. That immense help to reduce fear. And that way you can develop self-confidence. So I told her yesterday, she also showing sadness, and while she explained to me, I also feel sad. So I just mentioned like that. So that's the way. That through my own now last 60 years, and particularly last more than 50 years, difficult circumstances, I can keep my peace of mind. So annually, I carry medical checkup. Then the specialist, just I returned from Mayo Clinic, they say last 7 years I have sort of annual medical checkup there. They said to me, they told me last 7 years, no change. As I noticed some change, more white hair here. That I noticed some change. Otherwise, you see, my physical condition, no change, they say. And then they advised to me, I reduce my weight because of that. Because you need some effort to reduce. So that suffer my lunch and breakfast. Usually I carry heavy lunch and heavy breakfast. Now that little reduced. Of course, as a monk, no dinner. That also one advantage.
Just here in the second.
Good, yes.
In the second row here.
Hi, I'm Eleanor Harding from the Daily Mail newspaper. I'd like to ask the Dalai Lama, what spiritual advice would you give to British people who feel that they're suffering at the moment during the economic turmoil in this country?
Of course, I'm not sort of a specialist or expert in economy field. I'm just ignorant. Actually, a few years ago, when the worldwide economic crisis happened, and I really surprised. You see, those people who involve economy, I think they're not only expert, but I think, you see, day and night, even dream, I think they're always dreaming about economy. I think these people are really expert. But then, according to some of my friends, you see, they are sort of mishandling. So that also one causes of this sort of economic crisis, they say. So, from that way, from that aspect, yes, this economic crisis also, you see, is related with human motivation or human handling. Therefore, we can say this existing sort of the economic crisis also some way man-made problem. Then, logically, any problem which we create, then we must have the ability to overcome that. That's quite logical. So, recently I was in America, and also now in the different countries in Europe, and also Japan. I telling them, you should not sort of discourage yourself. In spite of many difficulties, you must keep your spirit, your sort of optimism, and work hard, not relying on prayer.
Don't rely on prayer.
1,000 years we prayed to God or to Buddha, but a lot of problems there. So the answer is, realistically speaking, this is a problem. We create, not God created. If God creates, then pray to God. But this creates, I think, with free will, concept of free will, we created. So we must make an effort to overcome these things. In order to carry constant effort, we need self-confidence. Clear? So please don't feel helpless or hopeless. Don't do that. Work hard. Actually, recently, there's some problems in London and also some other cities. When that happened, when I heard BBC. Now, it may not be nice in England if I say that. I really have to sort of view Englishmen, matured people, sensible people, law-abiding people. If such things happen in some other sort of developing countries or some different countries, it's quite understandable. But in England that happened, I really felt, oh, why? So I immediately sent a letter to Prime Minister. I expressed my sort of sadness or condolence. In the meantime, I expressed, now time come, think more serious sort of investigation or research work. What causes? Again, I didn't mention, but I felt the moral ethics and young people, their life just beginning. Life not easy, no guarantee. Now, individual sort of optimism, determination is the key factor. If you see you take for granted or life be easy, then something happens. Then frustrations develop because of anger develop violence. So like that. So that's my view. In Japan also I expressed that way. Now work hard with self-confidence. Don't think just immediate sort of problem. Look long future, although no guarantee, but still future depends on your own hand.
Your Holiness, we have lots of questions.
Sorry.
Not at all. Guy with the glasses just off. Yes, yours.
Andrew Brown from The Guardian. Last time there were this many journalists here, it was for the Occupy protests all round outside. Do you think, Your Holiness, that you would have been outside on the steps with the Occupy protesters or inside?
The reasons and motivation, if sincere, justified, then I may join with them. And one time in Delhi, 1-hour conference. This is some sort of a participant where this is mentioned some sort of the grievance of some sort of difficult sort of people. Then I respond, these are really justify their sort of grievance. So if you organize some form of sort of demonstration, if you sort of proper appeal to the concerned people, not response, then we have to make some sort of activities, make known to larger public and also leaders. So if you organize, if you feel there's something appropriate, and if you organize some kind of demonstration, I will join. I told them.
Can I just add that in relation to Occupy, on the genuine concerns, there wasn't a division between outside and inside. And I think that's really important.
I think we'll leave that particular issue there, because we could go on for a very long time. There's so many hands up. I'm going to come to this side very arbitrarily, I'm afraid. Yes, ma'am, just on the second row here.
Good.
Katie Lee from AFP News Agency. Your Holiness, I read in the newspaper this week that you were recently informed of a Chinese plot to assassinate you. Is that true? When was it and how did it make you feel?
I just met the BBC radio progress. She asked me that. I told her, we have no possibility cross-check, so I don't know.
Okay, down here.
Your Holiness, Michelle Klepper, also for the Daily Mail. In the past decade, you've received 79 major awards, medals and honours, yet no meaningful help from the West in your struggle for Tibetan autonomy. My question is, you've said that you still have faith in the Chinese government, but I want to ask, what faith do you have in the Western governments, particularly, what faith do you have in the British government, or do you feel destined to continue your struggle alone?
This is also a political question. I think overall, our struggle, one aspect, ecology. Some Chinese ecologists, they describe Tibetan plateau as third pole because effect from Tibetan plateau about global warming as much as South Pole, North Pole. So he described Tibet plateau as a third pole. So ecological sort of the field, Tibet sort of protection, special pay attention about Tibet ecology is very, very important. That's one aspect. So government level or the NGO level, I think many people, including some Chinese, although you see some independent NGO, very, very small, but they also, you see, paying sort of serious sort of concern, attention like that. This is one aspect. Second aspect, the preservation of Tibetan culture, Tibetan Buddhist tradition. That also not only for 6 million Tibetan people's concern, but that also, you see, at least directly around, I think, 13, 14 millions of people in Central Asia in that area. So the preservation, and then most important, millions of young Chinese now showing interest about spirituality. According to some information, according this survey, number of Buddhists in China, I think 2 years ago, we noticed one Chinese university actually, you see, carrying that survey. It mentioned around 300 millions of Chinese who follow Buddhism, and including many of them following Tibetan Buddhism. So preservation of Tibetan Buddhist culture, Buddhism, is directly, you see, interest for several millions of people. Then I'm quite sure, look at China now. The moral crisis corruptions, immense. So from external force, discipline, limited. People who have power. At China, no proper rule, rule of law, no proper rule. So the Tibetan Buddhist culture, I think, long run, immense benefit to millions of Chinese who really sort of was passing through difficult sort of period like that. Then, because I didn't teach unit. So these two. So the beside government, many NGO, many organizations, and of course human rights violation, religious freedom. So it's many organizations you see can sort of make some sort of contribution regarding the Tibet issue. Then political side, in spite of the Tibet issue is firstly old issue, and secondly from the West, it's no economic interest, nothing. But I think the Tibetan issue very much based on moral principle. And also is the Tibetan issue also a sort of one aspect of Tibetan issue also you see with the democracy. Now here in outside, we after 53 years, we fully develop genuine democratic sort of practice. So when election last year, when election took place, some member, I think from different countries, including Canada and Italy, number of sort of European countries, their parliament member, if they came to India and witness, they all say complete sort of fair of election like that. So many Chinese, particularly intellectuals, writers, they really showing us the spirit of solidarity with us. Now the government level, in any way, the government level, I think many government, United States, German, and then also the British government, and many others, really, you see, showing their genuine concern when they met with their counterpart of the Chinese leaders. Often they mention about Tibet issue. So very grateful, very, very grateful. Then British, historically, we have special sort of relations. But meantime, how much they can do, we have to know there's limitation. Like that.
Thank you. I'm afraid that we have reached our time. We've drifted somewhat, very illuminatingly from the Templeton Prize. And just to bring us back to it, I mentioned earlier, have you made, it is a huge award. It's larger as an individual award in money terms than the Nobel Prize. It's £1.1 million this year. Have you decided, Your Holiness, how you are going to distribute that?
In dollar term, 1 million, it says $1.5 million. Because when I received this information, at that period, I also heard through BBC the Save the Children Fund. You see, they are really sort of a wonderful work worldwide. And also we received help from that organization in early '60s. So at that time, the leader of that organization, Lady McCarthy, one old lady, accent, very English accent. Wonderful. I remember very clearly. So we also have some connection. More important is our hope remaining our hope based on future generation. I usually describe in public meeting, I always mentioned my generation. And now, not only me, you, I think you also. I think you also, I think our generation belongs to 20th century. So we are ready to say bye-bye.
Not yet.
Oh, not yet, yes. Oh, another, I think we will witness the Kasura. I think within this century, I think 2 decades or 3 decades, maybe 4 decades, I think possible. In any way, basically, we belong to 20th century. So that century gone. That century, although wonderful century, that century, we human beings innovated wonderful things in technology, in science, in this field. However, that century become century of bloodshed, century of violence. Over 200 million of people killed through violence. At the beginning of this century, some, like including Iraq, Afghanistan, or all this, and also Kosovo, you see these sort of crises, also symptom of the past century's mistake or negligence. Therefore, now using force and develop more weapons, not answer. Answer is through dialogue. Differences are always there. Even within oneself, you see the idea in morning, idea afternoon, different. Then there's no danger to violence. If worst case, suicide. So therefore, any sort of differences, conflict, we can solve through dialogue. After all, I mentioned 7 billion human beings. We are same human being. We owned this planet. This planet owned 7 billion human beings. Oh, sorry. So therefore, so therefore, our hope is future generation. Therefore, and then also one another reason. At that time, I also heard polio, the problem in India. Poor country, but almost eliminated. So that's hopeful sign. So therefore, I firstly 1.5 billion $5 million dedicated for safety children fund. I prefer mainly in India. Then $200,000, since their work so much sort of attractive towards me. So I decide to donate organization, Life and Mind organization. Then few, $75,000 that I now decide to offer within our own monastic institution. Last, I think, 6-7 years, we already started so selected student, they study about science. Eventually, we now thinking, introduce in our monastic institution, because of the institution, academic. These are academic. I think they already witnessed this Buddhism, not just a ritual, a lot of sort of explanation about mind. Quite rich Buddhist psychology, information, Buddhist psychology, very, very rich. They found very useful information. And then Buddhist philosophy.
Your Holiness.
Oh, sorry.
It's only because you have to move to your next engagement. That's the only reason I interrupt you.
Sorry.
So I said.
So therefore, remaining money donate to that concerned people. That's all. Thank you.
Well, we've had immense pleasure and illumination, and I saw a sudden joy on the faces over there, to use the phrase that we use, as they discovered that they're getting some of it. So thank you very much, Your Holiness. Daniel, Richard, John, thank you. And thank you, everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't bring everyone in, but thank you very much. Hope it's been useful for you.
Thank you.